Here's a fun fact that might quietly destroy your childhood. Hippopotamuses kill more people every year than lions, leopards, and hyenas combined. We're not talking about rare accidents either. The estimated number hovers around 500 human deaths annually, and that may actually be an undercount. And yet somehow, a lot of us grew up believing hippos were gentle, peaceful river cows. Big, slow, vegetarian blobs that just happened to look intimidating but were ultimately harmless, like oversized manatees with bad tempers. That belief couldn't be further from reality, because behind that smooth, pinkish-gray exterior is one of the most aggressive, violent, and biologically absurd mammals on Earth. A creature capable of snapping a human body in half with a single bite. An animal that sweats something that looks like blood. A beast that launches feces like a biological weapon. And strangely enough, can't even swim. This is the real story of the hippopotamus, nature's most misunderstood nightmare. At first glance, hippos don't look built for speed or violence. Adult males average around 1,500 kilograms, or about 3,300 pounds, with some colossal individuals pushing over 2,600 kilograms, more than 5,800 pounds. That's roughly the weight of 2 fully grown cars, balanced on 4 stubby legs that look laughably undersized for the job. It feels like a design flaw, like nature forgot to finish rendering the model. But those legs are deceiving. Despite their bulk, hippos can sprint at speeds of 30 kilometers per hour, or about 19 miles per hour, when provoked. That's fast enough to outrun most humans. And yes, at full speed, hippos have been recorded going fully airborne, with all 4 feet off the ground mid-stride. It would be hilarious if it wasn't happening directly toward you. For comparison, Usain Bolt, the fastest human ever recorded, reached a top speed of around 44 kilometers per hour, and that was his absolute peak. The average person is lucky to hit 24 kilometers per hour in a dead sprint. So if a hippo decides you're a problem, the math is simple. You lose. Those stubby legs exist for a reason. They aren't meant for elegance. They're columns of dense bone, engineered to support massive weight while also generating explosive force. Hippos have exceptionally dense skeletons, far heavier than most semi-aquatic animals. And this leads to one of the most surprising truths about them. Hippos cannot swim. Put one in deep water, and it doesn't float, it sinks like a living boulder. If forced to stay submerged without a surface to push off from, it would drown. So how do they move in water? They walk. Hippos push off the riverbed, bouncing forward in a slow-motion gallop. Researchers describe their underwater movement as a kind of suspended leap, a rhythmic bounding motion that uses negative buoyancy to maintain contact with the bottom. Imagine watching a 2-ton animal moonwalk underwater. It's oddly graceful and absolutely terrifying. Because hippos spend so much time submerged, they've evolved to hold their breath for long periods, often 5 minutes or more. But what's even stranger is how they breathe. Hippos can sleep completely underwater. While asleep, a reflex automatically lifts them to the surface just long enough to inhale, then they sink back down, all without waking up. Their bodies handle breathing on autopilot. You try that, and you die. Their eyes, ears, and nostrils sit high on the skull like biological periscopes. This allows them to remain almost entirely submerged, exposing only the top of their head. Which means those small bumps in the water might actually be a 2-ton murder machine, silently watching you. At this point, you might wonder why something that eats grass evolved into this nightmare. Because, yes, hippos are technically herbivores. They spend their nights grazing like oversized lawnmowers, consuming around 40 kilograms of grass per night. They don't hunt. They don't stalk prey. And yet, they have the largest teeth of any terrestrial animal, excluding tusks not used in the mouth, even larger than those of a Tyrannosaurus rex. Hippos can open their jaws to 110 degrees, revealing a mouth so wide it looks unreal. Inside are lower canines that can reach 50 centimeters long, about the length of a human forearm. These teeth grow continuously throughout the animal's life and sharpen themselves as they grind together. The jaw muscles behind them generate around 1,800 pounds per square inch of pressure, making this one of the strongest bites among land mammals. And all of this exists to fight other hippos. That iconic yawn you've seen in documentaries? That's not tiredness. It's a threat display. When a hippo opens its mouth wide, it's showing off its weapon, silently asking if you really want to continue. And despite appearances, hippos aren't related to pigs, rhinos, or anything remotely similar. Their closest living relatives are whales and dolphins. Yes, really. Hippos and cetaceans, the group that includes whales and dolphins, share a common ancestor from around 60 million years ago. While whales went fully marine, hippos took a different route, becoming amphibious giants tied to freshwater systems. This shared lineage explains many of their strange traits: dense bones, hairlessness, underwater nursing, and complex vocal communication. Hippos are essentially whales that never finish the transition. Hippo society is built on dominance. A typical group includes one dominant male controlling a stretch of river, several females with calves, and younger bachelor males who are tolerated only as long as they don't challenge authority. Territory is everything. When rival males clash, they first size each other up, mouths wide open. If neither backs down, they fight. And these fights are brutal. They swing their heads like maces, bite faces, crush jaws, and leave deep wounds. Losers often retreat severely injured, sometimes fatally so. Hippos don't fight to scare. They fight to destroy. And yet, as violent as they are, this aggression disappears almost entirely on land. Males that tried to kill each other in the water may calmly walk past one another while grazing at night. So what changes? Why does the river turn peaceful giants into territorial monsters? And what happens when humans step into that equation? That's where things get much worse. When hippos mark territory, they don't just leave droppings. They unleash a fecal tornado. Using their tails like helicopter rotors, hippos spray liquefied dung in wide arcs, coating vegetation, rocks, and paths with scent markers. It's territorial graffiti, and it's horrifyingly effective. Hippos are incredibly loud. Their signature wheeze honk can reach 115 decibels, loud enough to damage human hearing. Even stranger hippos can communicate above and below water simultaneously. Sound travels through both air and water, and hippos respond in both environments. Some scientists believe they hear vibrations through their jawbones, similar to whales. Once again, the whale connection appears. Hippos secrete a red-orange fluid, often mistaken for blood. It's actually a mixture of acids that acts as both sunscreen and antibiotic. This blood sweat absorbs UV radiation and kills bacteria, protecting their skin and wounds. Hippos produce their own sunblock and their own disinfectant. Female hippos give birth after about 8 months. Calves weigh around 50 kilograms at birth and can nurse underwater. Mothers are fiercely protective. If threatened, multiple females will charge together, forming a wall of tusks, muscle, and rage. Few things on Earth are more dangerous than a group of hippo mothers defending calves. Almost nothing. Adult hippos sit at the top of the freshwater food chain. Lions occasionally kill weakened individuals. Crocodiles generally avoid them entirely. But humans die frequently. Hippos kill hundreds every year, often by capsizing boats or charging people who accidentally cross their path. They don't hunt humans. They simply react violently to perceived threats. Despite being herbivores, hippos have been documented eating carcasses, killing animals, and even engaging in cannibalism. This behavior is rare but real, likely driven by nutrient deficiencies. Those jaws don't care what they bite. Hippos shape entire ecosystems. By grazing on land and defecating in water, they transport massive amounts of nutrients into rivers, feeding fish, insects, and plants. One study estimated 8,500 kilograms of organic matter deposited daily in a single river system. Hippos are walking fertilizer factories. Human-altered waterways can turn hippo nutrients toxic, causing algae blooms and oxygen depletion that kill fish. Even ecosystem engineers can become destructive when balance is lost. And then there's Colombia. 4 hippos imported by Pablo Escobar became over 200 in just a few decades. With no predators, perfect climate, and endless rivers, they're spreading rapidly, becoming an invasive species. Efforts to sterilize them are expensive and dangerous. Killing them caused massive public outrage. So now, Colombia is stuck. A vulnerable species in Africa, a dangerous invasive species in South America, and then, there's Colombia. 4 hippos imported by Pablo Escobar became over 200 in just a few decades. With no predators, perfect climate, and endless rivers, they're spreading rapidly, becoming an invasive species. Efforts to sterilize them are expensive and dangerous. Killing them caused massive public outrage. So now, Colombia is stuck. A vulnerable species in Africa, a dangerous invasive species in South America. Hippos are contradictions made flesh, gentle grazers with predator weapons, ecosystem saviors and human killers, ancient relatives of whales trapped in rivers. They are terrifying, they are essential, and they are far stranger than fiction.